I came back from the dead and nuked ex-fiancé's life insurance money plans, part 2. I left that afternoon and actually made my way to the lodge and checked in. Now the next part I will mostly because I am not sure if it was legal or illegal or whatever, but cut to 6 months later and I have a new name and live in a new city where I was able to restart my IT career and was slowly working toward my old income status again. I started stalking my ex on Facebook and other social media. I won't lie, it was cathartic to say the least. The chaos of them trying to get into accounts must have been aged, and she figured out that our comfortable finances were not so comfortable after all. Begging for money on Facebook is suo-trashy. Once again, I won't mention the legal stuff, but a lot of people went looking for me and I considered phoning the police to let them know that I was okay, but decided against it. Eventually had to pay a hefty fine for this, but it was well worth it. I worked on myself for a long time and got into great shape, lost my religion and descended into a hedonistic lifestyle. I became unrecognizable. I continued stalking this woman for about a year when I heard she was dating a new guy and got pregnant almost immediately. Of course, my mom was still in her life taking care of my supposed children while she was doing knows what. Then on the 1-year anniversary of me leaving, she posted a memorial page for me. This made me decide that my revenge was not quite done, and I decided to call up my brother and let him know I was alive. My brother and I had drifted over the past 10 years, but he was blood and was always there when I was younger. I told him why I did what I did and we caught up, and I asked him not to tell anyone yet and he agreed. But then he told me about my mom and my ex-fiancé suing my insurance company to honor my life insurance. Somehow, she had managed to keep up this policy going despite its hefty cost. The payout would be substantial, 7 figures, and she would be awarded the premiums that she had paid since my alleged death if she won. Well, I am not the kind of uncivilized person that would defraud an insurance company, so I started my plans. I drove the 1,000-mile journey to my old city when I heard she had an upcoming hearing and listened to Highway to HE half the way down. I went to the court early and sat down. Now at this time I had grown a beard, lost 60 pounds, and generally looked good. I looked so different that my fiancé and mother passed right by me in the court without giving me a second look. I thought they would be meeting in a big courtroom, and I was already planning to barge in and yell something about objecting and being a cringelord like usual. But they ended up going to a small room with some lawyers from the insurance company. I decided frick it and knocked on the door several times until they opened it. They were all confused to see this scraggly dressed man with a beard, and I simply said, "I believe you are trying to settle the issue of whether I am dead." My ex-fiancé realized it was me almost immediately and let out a gasp or something. But the lawyers were just confused. Everyone ended up stepping outside the room, and a whirlwind erupted, and the bailiffs were called over. My ex screamed and slapped me, and they had to actually put handcuffs on her. This was a big deal for the insurance company, I guess, and the lawyer's boss/client actually showed up and asked for statements and everything. Even a detective showed up and I started to regret coming, but I gave my statement and did not really lie about anything, but I was vague about where I was currently living. I ended up staying in town for almost a month, and it was a crazy month in a cheap motel. I showed evidence of my ex's cheating to anyone who cared, and I tried to meet with the kids. But the youngest did not know me, and the then 7-year-old told me to F myself, which is fair, I guess. The police were pissed off and started civil litigation for the costs of searching for me. A detective or something actually flew in from another state to question me. Luckily, this whole time I did not get arrested for anything, as I did not want my fingerprints being linked to my new name and such. Essentially, I had to pay a large fine, and immediately paid the fine in cash to the surprise of the police. As far as I was concerned, I was done with this town. My ex-fiancé served me a civil lawsuit for multiple different things, and my mom helped, but I was a leaf in the wind long before anything came of it. I am back in my new city and never plan to go back. I stopped spying on them after a few months of ruining her insurance plans and moved on with my life. This happened some years ago, and I am much better off now, but I am tired now and need to go to sleep. If there is interest, I will let you know what happened with me after all this. Update. Hello everyone, thank you for taking interest in my life. I only want to do one update and lay it all out. Mostly I just wanted to let people know where I went with my life, because a lot of people seem interested. I might answer a few questions in the comments if someone has a burning question. I am not going to say anything about how to disappear because we can't discuss potential crimes on this board, but look up the case of how Jack Barsky, a former KGB spy, entered the US and obtained credentials. Literally millions of undocumented immigrants do this to be able to work for companies in the US as well. Uncle Sam just wants those taxes paid. I'm not sure about the details of the insurance investigation and how they were looking for me, but I never got so much as a phone call from them before I met them in person. I have no intention to try to seek revenge anymore, because I believe violent delights have violent ends now. As far as I am concerned, my ex-fiancé's life is hard enough and anything else I did would just hurt the kids. After everything blew up with my ex, I left the town and did not reach out to my brother anymore and even stopped checking up on the situation with my ex. Having no family and friends and starting over in the world is lonely and terrifying, but equally exciting and hopeful. So how did I reset my life upon reaching a new city? Well, I had a lot of money in cash that I used to stay in a motel for a few months while I got all my documents in order and looked for work. Because I thought that my home computer would be searched when I went missing, I could not really plan much of this stuff beforehand. I realized that without a college degree linked to your name, it was difficult to find a job with my skill set. So I decided to just make my own company and post advertisements about setting up custom dispatch software, editing videos and presentations, among other tasks. I only received a few different jobs doing this, and it did not even pay my living expenses. After I did a few jobs for the same company, I made friends with a project manager and got hired at a reasonable salary. To this day, my finances are only about of what I was making before, but I am happy with what I have. I spent a lot of time finding people with similar stories on the internet and eventually got involved with a Men Going Their Own Way (MGTO) group. We basically just talked about women all the time, and the positive feedback loop made me a pretty resentful/misogynistic person. I went so far as making fake accounts to women online, so I don't want to go into any more details because I am a bit and remorseful now. I got on Tinder and started up with women to make up for lost time. Throwing money around and lying to them became a way of life for me, and I would cheat on basically every woman I got with because I thought they were all doing it too. I got caught and I would pretend like I didn't understand why they were mad with me until they left or tried to forgive me just for me to do it again. Not proud of this either. A couple of years ago, one of the women that I was sleeping with regularly got pregnant and came to me all excited with the news. Now, I immediately accused her of cheating and threw her out of my apartment, and there was just a look of shock on her face. Remember, I thought I was infertile, so in my mind, I just put another thought in her place. I continued to mock her for a bit and even messaged my MGTO buddies about what I did. I openly confessed to cheating on her and showed her proof. I agreed to a paternity test while she was still pregnant just because I didn't want her to get the courts involved, and I was shocked with the result. I cried and tried to hug her, and she screamed through some papers at me and told me she never wanted to see me again. I went home and drank, happy that I was going to be a dad for real this time, but sad who I had become. Like I said, I don't want you to root for me because I am not a good person. For the remainder of the pregnancy, she would not even speak to me long enough for me to explain my actions, but I totally understood why. When the baby was born a girl, I showed up to the hospital to sign the birth certificate, and at the same time met with her lawyer, which turned out to be her sister, to go over child support stuff that we had already spoke about. I went for a Hail Mary and offered to sign any paper they wanted if she would just have coffee with me for 30 minutes to explain things. She wanted full custody and generous payments. I never got a lawyer because I just wanted to make amends, and I thought a lawyer would throw up obstacles to try to protect me or my finances. I met with her for coffee, and to my surprise, she let me speak uninterrupted for almost 20 minutes. I did not completely tell her the truth about my past, but she understood why I wanted a paternity test, but did not excuse my behavior in mocking her, throwing her out, and cheating. I signed the papers, but begged her to let me see my daughter and be part of her life. She said that I was unstable and that I needed intensive therapy before that would ever happen. Of course, I obliged to the therapy. I learned a lot in therapy and did a lot of research about the fallout of cheating and whatnot. Turns out there are a lot of women who had been hurt by cheaters and homewreckers too, and that my view of women was toxic to say the least. I cut it off with my MGTOW buddies because I thought that atmosphere would be a detriment to my progress. I don't want to attack that group because I think there are some good people in that group that are just broken and looking for answers. I think having a baby girl was a real punch in the gut to stop treating women so poorly. I was finally able to see my daughter when she was 7 months old and began supervised visits every other weekend. I had dutifully paid the child support and made every attempt to talk to her mother and try to make amends. One night after our daughter, we got drunk and started kissing, which turned into. When we woke up the next morning, she wasn't just asked me to leave, but she made it seem like she kind of wanted to make things work. It took a long time, but we moved in together after she lost her job to COVID-19 and are currently living together. Her family hates me, and this has held us back from marriage talk or anything. Our daughter's second birthday celebration because her lawyer sister didn't want to see me. I hope this turns out well for me, and I know I already have better than I deserve. For now, the pandemic has me working from home and my girl takes care of our daughter and makes me food and such. She is still suspicious of me and comes into my office to see what I am doing regularly, but I don't mind. For now, I'm just going to try to be there for my daughter and try to make it up to her mom. I'm still trying to think of things I can do or say, but for now I am still in Zoom therapy and just doing my best. I don't think I can ever really tell anyone everything, which is why I decided to tell the strangers of Reddit. I am sorry for those people that thought I was a hero in my initial post. Please don't let your hatred boil inside you, friends. I almost missed out on something great, and I may still miss out if I am not careful. This is going to be the only update, unless I come back years from now to tell you all what happened. Best of luck to everyone.